Charlie Lapastora has the latest.
The river could rise a few more feet within the next few days, and that would break an all-time record. The eyes of the nation are set on College Station, Texas today, where the former First Lady, the beloved Barbara Bush, will be laid to rest. Octavio is a construction worker, and the hope is to get him back to work. From here in El Paso and back in Houston, everybody here at the Walmart, back in Houston, around Texas, and around the country, is pulling for you, Octavio. Volunteers use this spotlight method, searching for the endangered ferrets from 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. It's an all-night operation. Over 40% of its fruit and vegetables come from Mexico, and with long lines at ports of entry, like just south of here in Hidalgo, food distributors are concerned this could directly impact supermarkets. Craft brewers are still concerned because, as you can see, their beer is made with mostly steel and aluminum with these tanks and kegs, and most of that is from China. Players like Jackie Robinson, the Giants' Willie Mays, and the Indians' Larry Doby, who was the second African-American player in Major League Baseball, stepped up to the plate. More than 300 National Guard soldiers got deployed here to help with Border Patrol. Yeah, Mark and Christina, crawling through those tunnels is no joke, trust me. It's pitch black, there's very limited space down there. It really takes a very specific skill set. Essentially, they become another member of the crew, giving firefighters that bird's eye view. By artists and scientists who used this telescope at Lowell Observatory, and other Apollo astronauts trained at the simulated moon crater site. I visited the Littlefoots, and they're one of the families who used lamps and flashlights up until just a few weeks ago, when utility workers from across the country decided to do something about it. Volunteers from the Light Up Navajo project helped install electricity for more than 230 other families. Throughout the Bush Presidential Library and Museum, visitors can take a look back at his World War II experience and his relationship with those in the armed forces while Commander-in-Chief. The nonprofit also uses an app to record and track hundreds of these wild horses. Yeah, Mark and Christina, we all know those long line stereotypes at MVDs, but ADOT told me they're hoping this technology will get rid of those wait times completely. Each time their mission is the same: to honor veterans. One of the many life lessons Ryan and the staff teach the kids in this program is that when you fall in life, you get right back up. Boneyard Wranglers are also refurbishing wings out of the desert to get them ready for combat planes. As first responders, these firefighters put on more than just life-saving equipment. Starting in February, students will have the opportunity to compete in a different kind of sport. That's right, video games.
When I get my helmet on and all the suit, they don't know who's in there. They don't know I'm 90 years old.
So this will be their vantage point, is restoring these fighter jets, then shipping them off to Boeing for autonomous flying testing. It's similar to microchipping your pets, but in this case, park rangers poke a tiny hole into the cactus they're microchipping. So really at the core of this debate then is whether or not the federal government should continue to manage this type of land. They're in the same division, but share the same stadium for spring training. The Arizona State Capitol to pay their respects to whom they love, a man they called a hero, the late Senator John McCain. Apprehension numbers are off the charts along the southern border. This is the President George H.W. Bush Library and Museum, filled with history, filled with memories of the former president, live in Great Falls, Montana, at the Holiday Inn here. This ballroom is where Senator Tester's election night watch party will be taking place. I'll take you behind the scenes into the room and see what's going on. And I'm going to take you a little bit behind the scenes of how they vote here. Montanans vote. Voters, they check in, and a volunteer will tell them their precinct number. And so you can see the precinct numbers. So, sir, what's the importance of these rescue beacons along the border?
It really does kind of look like a little R2-D2.
This is the autonomous delivery robot, and they will be hitting the streets here in August. What's your initial reaction to sharing the streets potentially with these robots?
It's just a little crazy.
It's baseball season. Join me as I take you throughout Arizona to the different stadiums in Fort Smith, Arkansas, in Tucson, Arizona, in College Station, Texas, in El Paso, Texas, at the U.S.-Mexico border, in Los Fresnos, Texas, in Phoenix, from the Lolo National Forest in Missoula, Montana. Charlie Lapastora, Fox News.
Fox News' Charlie Lapastora joins us live from Oso Brewery in Gilbert. Charlie, what's the latest there?
Yeah, Martin, Christina, I spoke with an ASU logistics professor who says these tariffs are costing breweries 1 or 2 cents a can even, and that affects local craft breweries the most.
These tariffs are pretty threatening to the craft brewery industry.
When it comes to the U.S.-China trade war tariff talks, what's on tap for craft breweries is dealing with the ripple effects of this impacting their bottom line.
There's sort of a bullwhip effect that a small cost upstream ends up being amplified as it moves downstream.
It's flowed to craft breweries like Oso Brewery in Arizona, who are feeling the effects of costs going up from their steel and aluminum suppliers.
The people that really feel the pinch of the Chinese tariffs right now are disproportionately the small breweries.
Every piece of stainless steel equipment Oso Brewery uses, from the tanks to the kegs to the can you buy from the store, have some materials in them from China.
25% tariff on stainless and a 10% on aluminum. Just those little bits of pennies, our margins are so tight, it's almost impossible for us to pass that on to consumers and not absorb a chunk of that ourselves.
Jeff and Leah Huss rely on steel and aluminum and can 50% of their beer. They've seen their supplier run out of lids recently.
I discovered on one of our invoicing. The disclaimer, it said there's no current tariff that is impacting the cost of your tap handles, but that doesn't mean that one won't change, that won't change, and one won't be coming your way.
Craft beer now accounts for almost a quarter, more than 24% of the multi-billion-dollar U.S. beer market. Susan Dubois is a registered nurse who enjoys beer like many other Americans and says this is going to hurt craft breweries who don't have giant profit margins.
This is going to cost the American consumers a lot of money.
Despite steel and aluminum tariffs being lifted from Canada and Mexico recently, craft brewers are still concerned because, as you can see, their beer is made with mostly steel and aluminum with these tanks and kegs, and most of that is from China. Reporting live tonight from Gilbert, Arizona, Charlie Lapastora, Fox 10 News.
Fox News' Charlie Lapastora went to the Navajo Nation in northern Arizona to see how utility companies from all over the country help turn on the lights for these families.
And Charlie joins us live in the studio with details on this. Charlie.
That's right, Mark and Christina. It's 2019 and some of our neighbors up north are without what many of us take for granted today, electricity. I visited the Littlefoots and they were one of the families who had lamps and flashlights up until just a few weeks ago when utility workers from across the country decided to do something about it.
17 years without electricity, so it's been hard.
The Littlefoots were one of 15,000 families still living without electricity on the vast Navajo reservation.
It's dark and we're running around feeling for everything and then turn on the flashlights. Or I had a couple of candles here.
Then 100 volunteer power line crews from utility companies across the country came together to power up their homes.
Now I'm coming in and I just flip the lights. I don't want to start crying, but I'm just so happy.
It's like living in the city now. You just got light, power, and everything. You just touch a switch, everything comes on. Thank them all, the interior workers and people that help out. I really appreciate it. They took their time coming out here.
An estimated 20,000 families in the continental U.S. live without electricity. More than 70% of them here on the Navajo Reservation, the largest Native American territory in the country.
What I grew up with in Chicago and some of the areas I worked, people were upset, extremely upset if the power went out for 15 minutes. Imagine not having power for 50 years.
The idea that there are these wonderful citizens of the United States without power is just mind-boggling.
Along with the Littlefoot family, volunteers from the Light Up Navajo project helped install electricity for more than 230 other families as well.
I was on board to help all these customers without electricity.
Our prayers, our faith, hopes, and dreams have come true. Oh, a miracle happened. Turn on the switch and there is light.
Well, Light Up Navajo officials are trying to raise more money so they can bring electricity to other families who've never been able to simply switch on those lights. Reporting live in the studio tonight, Charlie Lapastora, Fox 10 News.
I think it's a huge trend.
The Arizona Interscholastic Association is partnering with online gaming organization Legacy Esports to implement a program for its schools.
We find this as a unique opportunity to get those students that might normally go home after school and play a game on their computer, but now get them into school to where they can meet up with their peers and again school pride, compete for a state tournament.
Esports tournaments are gaining widespread popularity. The 2018 Professional League of Legends video game final was watched live by more than 200 million people. That's more than the Super Bowl, NBA Finals, and Winter Olympics opening ceremony combined. It's so popular that universities are now giving out scholarships for gamers to compete.
No different than a great high school athlete earning a scholarship to go play football at a particular school or basketball at a particular school, but now these students have the opportunity to earn those similar scholarships in esports.
Charles Slack is a local Mesa Community College student who plays video games every day and says he definitely would have joined this league in high school.
It's a good entryway into getting into the bigger esports. I implemented in life, you just hard work really does pay off, because you'll notice it in video games. You practice a lot, you'll be able to outplay opponents because you practice more than them.
Supporters say programs like this help build stronger relationships among students.
We wanted to bring them in and teach them about teamwork and communication and all that fun stuff that goes along with playing video games as a team.
The amount of time Americans spend playing video and board games has risen by 50% since 2003, according to the Washington Post. Though it's a booming trend, some caution that balance is important too.
If they do this, they also understand that they need to go out and play, that they need to do physical activities in addition to this.
Esports registration starts for Arizona students in 2 weeks. And at some schools, Belitho told me there are actually more students at the esports informational meetings than football, basketball, and baseball combined. Reporting live in the newsroom, Lapastora, Fox 10 News.